Good morning, everybody. Okay. Good morning. We're gonna sing. Mother. What was that? Okay. We're gonna sing "Count Your Many Blessings." I'm gonna step back. When upon life's billows you are tempest tossed, when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. Are you ever burdened with a load of care? Does the cross seem heavy you are called to bear? Count your many blessings, every doubt will fly, and you will keep singing as the days go by. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. So amid the conflict, whether great or small, do not be discouraged, God is over all. Count your many blessings, angels will attend, help and comfort give you to your journey's end. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to Corsicana Missionary Baptist Church. We are thankful you chose to worship with us this morning. Today, the youth will be leading the worship service. We ask for your prayers as we take on this role today, and for our youth group that we will grow closer to Jesus and that we will make an impact on our community as we serve here at CNBC.
Good morning. Is there any prayer request?
Dana, she's not feeling well today.
Yes.
I mentioned earlier in Sunday school, my son's father-in-law was admitted to Waxahachie Hospital last night. He has COVID and is having issues, so if you'll just remember them, Gary McMullen and the family.
Any more prayer requests?
I do have a couple. So Kathy is going on November 1st to have her second sleep study. So I still remember them as they travel down to Houston and then back. Pray for Our Ladies. We're leaving on Friday for Our Ladies retreat. So as you pray for traveling grace for us. And then I talked to Miss Francis this morning, and she's having some procedures done, and her daughter is also having surgery on Tuesday of this week. So y'all remember her and her daughter and family.
Any more prayer requests? Yes.
My sister had an emergency appendectomy Tuesday, and there are other issues, so I appreciate the prayer.
Brother Jonathan, would you lead us in prayer?
I'll talk about it later. I don't even remember what it was. Let's bow our heads. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, God, thank you so much for the day, God. Thank you for the opportunity of being here. Thank you for each one that chose to be in God's house. And God, thank you for our youth who are willing to step up, even when it's uncomfortable and confusing. but God, just standing for you. God, we thank you for that. Be with those that have been mentioned this morning as far as objects of prayer, that God, you be with each life, each condition, and that God, your presence in their life would bring them close to you, give them comfort, strength, grace, and Lord, in all of it, that God, lives would choose to serve you because of your presence in their life. Lord, I pray that you just be with our service this morning. God, that if anyone here needs to make a decision to be obedient to you, Lord, that this would truly be the morning distraction-free, that they would make their lives right with you. Thank you so much for this church, and God, just give us the opportunity to reach out. Lord, it's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.
Okay. Youth Sunday is today. Please show our youth, how much you appreciate them and your willingness to take up and their willingness to take a part in our service. Following our morning worship, we will be serving lunch in the fellowship hall. Halloween event, October 31st, this Monday from 6:30 to 8:30. We will be meeting in our church to pass out free hot dogs and candy to trick-or-treaters. All are welcome. November 4th through 5th, ladies retreat is almost here. The ladies will be leaving at 9 a.m. this Friday, so please be at church prior to this. November 6th, daylight saving is just a week ahead. Don't forget to set your clocks back. Donuts and coffee worship, November 6th at 9:15. Next Sunday is the first Sunday of the month, and that means donuts. Please join us for sweet worship and delicious donuts.
Amy, I also want to announce today is the Fifth Sunday singing, and it's held at Cedar Creek today at 6 o'clock. Anybody that's interested.
Birthdays?
Wait, we have
No.
another announcement.
Okay.
So our ladies voted, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, to have our name for our ladies auxiliary to be women of grace. So this is gonna kind of be what our T-shirt is. If anyone is interested in one, get with me. They're gonna be $10. And those that are going on the retreat, I've already kind of started making them and have some for us so that we can wear them on our retreat. Those of you that aren't, if you would like one, just get with me and tell me what size you need, and I'll get T-shirts ordered for the sizes. Okay, before we move on, here, I'm gonna go ahead and do this now. So, if y'all know 6 years that we've been here, that you can't keep any secrets from the preacher ever, because either he's shaking the presents under the tree or he tells me what he wants. So I thought I was keeping a secret from him, but he came and admitted to me last week. He was like, I'm sorry, I was listening to the service, and he didn't just listen to the preaching part, he literally listened to the entire thing and said, I'm sorry, I heard some announcement about a book. And I was like, great. So here I was trying to be all secretive, and then he goes and he listens to it. So I saw this idea and thought it was great. And I know we've been here 6 years as of last Sunday, but with this being Pastor Appreciation Month, I wanted to do something that I thought would be really neat and special. And so I went through all the photos that I could find over the last 6 years and created our pastor a little photo album of our year here. And then I asked, the announcement was, for all of you to please sign it. And so I know several of you did and several of you did not. So he already knows about it now, so I'm going to go ahead and let him have it, but I'm going to put it out in the front. So those of you who go out the front, I'll have a marker there. If you would please, anywhere in the book, sign it, write a message, whatever you want, and then I'll put it also in the fellowship hall during lunch, and then take a moment to kind of look through it. It's kind of funny to see how much we've all changed in the 6 years, all of us, like not even just the kids, which to me is crazy. But so this is over the last 6 years of our time here at Corsicana, and it's mostly in order from beginning to just recent over the last month or so. So this is for you, and we love you. I love you, of course, but we love you. We appreciate you. And then I'm going to go ahead and present this. Is okay? So the ladies decided we wanted to get you something for Pastor Appreciation, so I ran to go get it yesterday. He tried to go with me, and I was like going, okay, what can I make up? How can I do this? And then he decided not to. It worked out. They did not have the item that we were going to get you, so we ordered it. So it's coming in the mail. So inside the card tells you what you're getting. So this is from your Ladies Auxiliary, the newly named Women of Grace. And then this is from all of us. And so again, please, if you haven't had a chance to sign it, please, please, please sign it. I think it'll be something special to have over our years. And we appreciate you, we love you, and we look forward to laughing at you. And if you haven't watched the video of the sleeping bag, it's already had almost 100 views. We might go viral with that thing.
Birthdays. Miss Linda and Frey are having a birthday the 1st and 4th. Let's sing them happy birthday. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you. Anniversaries. No anniversaries. Kemplin.
Stepping up.
Okay, now we're gonna sing Lily of the Valley. Found a friend in Jesus, he's everything to me. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. The lily of the valley, in him alone I see all I need to cleanse and make me fully whole. In sorrow he's my comfort, in trouble he's my stay. He tells me every care on him to roll. He's a lily of the valley, the brightest morning star. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. He all my griefs had taken and all my sorrows borne. In temptation he's my strong and mighty power. I have fallen and forsaken and all my idols torn from my heart, and now he keeps me by his power. Though all the world forsake me and Satan tempt me score, through Jesus I shall safely reach the goal. He's a lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. He will never ever leave me, nor yet forsake me here, while I live by faith and do his blessed will. A wall of fire about me, I've nothing now to fear. With his manna he my hungry shall fulfill. Then sweep me up to glory, I'll see his blessed face, where rivers of delight shall ever roll. He's the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. Okay, now we're gonna sing At the Cross. Alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my Sovereign die? Would he devote that Savior 15.
I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. In all my days, I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God.
that today? Please. All right, we are going to forego all you talking at once. That's what I heard. We're going to forego tonight, and again, you are encouraged, if you can and want to meet at Cedar Creek. Jamie, what time was that? 6 o'clock? They'll have, okay. So they'll be serving refreshments after. And so you're encouraged to do that. This morning, I'm the youngest person I could find to preach to you. I am going to speak for you this morning. I admit to you that I am tired, but it has been a great week. I can't say thank you enough for your support. Ago. Then they brought these young men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not you serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if you be ready, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, you fall down and worship the image which I have made, well, But if you worship not, you shall be cast the same out into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, know this, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. You may be seated. I sure hope that we have all heard and know well the story of the Babylonian captivity. And these familiar young people that we are introduced or find in our text this morning, these teenagers, these 4 teenagers are mentioned, but only 3 are in this story, were willing to take a stand. Willing to stand when nobody else was. Church, I want you to understand that every day our young people are challenged to take a stand. Because before them, before you and I, every day is the world commanding, demanding, imploring us to be conformed. Fall down to the influences before them. And that the ability to take a stand requires courage that is not natural to our flesh. It's not easy for them, nor would it have been easy for these young people. Nebuchadnezzar, we know, marched against Jerusalem, marched against Israel, and he conquered them in 605 BC. And Nebuchadnezzar chose to take captives. And he began this campaign of deporting the Jews to Babylon. He started with young people. These particular young people were those that were, it says in chapter 1, it says they, where is it? I wrote it down, didn't I? Children in whom was no blemish. Well favored. In fact, it says they were skillful in knowledge. They were the cream of the crop. They had a plan. Not just to take captives, but to reprogram. To inundate their lives with the culture of Babylon, with the language of Babylon, with the ways of Babylon, with the enticements of Babylon. This reprogramming went so far as they gave them new names. I find it interesting that most people only know these 4 teenagers, 3 teenagers, by their Babylonian names and not their Hebrew names. I brought this up in our class one Wednesday, and I got the oddest stare when I asked them, did they know their real names? Was it not Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? No, it wasn't. For some reason, Daniel is the only one that in Scripture, this narrative that we are told in this book is referred to by his Hebrew name. He was given a Babylonian name, Belshazzar, but he's never really referred to it. Do you know their Hebrew names? It'd be really odd if I pointed you out and asked you to stand and say it, wouldn't it? Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Those were their Hebrew names. And each and every one of these names, in the root of their Hebrew names, is a reference to God. Names were so important. And when the Babylonians took them captive and tried to reprogram them, they gave them names to refer to their gods. The same thing happening today. That the world is trying to grab the attention of our young people. They're trying to reprogram their identity. To give them a new identity that has nothing to do with God. I mean, just listen to how people say, I am not a he or she, I'm a they and them. They are trying to reprogram their identities to reflect the God of this land. Pray for our young people, that they have the willingness and boldness and courage to stand. Because our text, our thoughts focus on these three young people, but before them was a sea of other Jews who were not willing to stand. But you know, it's not young people who just deal with that. We all are called upon to stand, and far too many of all of God's children succumb to the pressure to kneel before the influence of this world. With unshakable conviction, Daniel and his companions reveal this extraordinary character of faith in God. Y'all pray for me. I am now taking Intro to Pastoral Counseling. And these next 3 weeks will probably be the most difficult of all my studies so far. I've been reading this book that I've got to get read this weekend about communication. In fact, it's about how to be a better listener. And even just with how little I have gotten into this book, I've been made aware of how prone we are to succumb to the pressure of this world and the physiological effect that it has on our lives when we are so under pressure that we make irrational and unspiritual decisions. I can't even grasp the pressure that our young people are under today. so many of them, so many adults are making life-changing decisions because they are so under pressure. But this book that I'm reading, it even with such heavy material being discussed, it consistently, constantly reinsures that there is a promise that we as believers have, that we have a God that is willing to stand for us. We know the end of the story. I'm not going to really get into that, but we know that they eventually are thrown into the fire, right? But there's not 3 people in there, was there? Jesus was with them. What I hope to encourage our young people, what I hope to encourage all of us this morning is that we can have the confidence to stand because God is already standing before us. So let us look this morning, first of all, at the pressure to bow down. These young people were pressured to bow down. King Nebuchadnezzar had set up this golden image, and it was huge. From what I can find, it was some 90 feet tall, 9 feet wide. It was massive. This golden statue, can you imagine the glare that it caused as the sun shone upon it? I imagine anywhere within the proximity of the capital of Babylon, you would see this image. All of Babylon, the entire empire, was here before Nebuchadnezzar. And they were dedicating this statue. Some say it was the image of Nebuchadnezzar himself. Some say it was the image of a false god that the Babylonians served. That doesn't matter. Every single person was commanded, when you hear the orchestra play, fall upon your face and worship, or else. Because you see, this statue was not the only thing that captured the attention upon the horizon of our text. We also are shown that there was a furnace burning. And we can only imagine that the smoke of this great fire filled the sky. Bow down in worship or go into the fire. Maybe the choice before our youth is not so black and white, but the choice is there. Bow down, give in, succumb to the influence, be what we tell you to be, act like we tell you to act, accept what we tell you to accept, or face the fire. We can't even count the cost of what cancel culture has done to the church and its people. The fear of being ostracized, the fear of being pointed out. And if you don't know, that fear of being isolated is terrifying for our youth. But maybe not just our youth. I was called upon to take Nicole to a volleyball meeting this last week. I already knew in my heart he wasn't going to be good. Jamie should be there, because we're going to have to make decisions, and Jamie needs to be there so I can ask her, is this a good decision? Right? We walk into the room, and there's chairs just lined up, and the only ones open are on the front. And I immediately made my way to the back of the room, and Nicole wasn't having it. She didn't want to stand in the back. But Jonathan wasn't going to sit in the front either. You see, it's not just young people, but even us adults, we fear being isolated. We fear being pushed out into the front of that zone of uncomfortableness. It's just as real as a fiery furnace for so many of us. And that we are more apt to choose comfort than we are to choose standing. If standing means we'll be alone or the minority. It breaks my heart. You hear these conversations of young people, of immature Christians, and you hear the choices they make. Not because they really believe in what is going on, not because they really understand what is going on. They just don't want to stand alone. It's more comfortable to go with a crowd. It's more comfortable to be in the back of the room. It's more comfortable just to go with the flow. I'm afraid that our state, our country, is about to truly feel the effects of so many children of God just being more willing to go with the comfort than it is to stand. And I'm not trying to get political this morning. But God's people, if we don't stand based upon our faith, don't complain. Don't get upset with the effects of that choice. Never has it been lost people's responsibility to determine the spiritual temperature of our society. It is God's people who have been called to stand, to be the light, to be the influence, that the world might know the truth of the gospel. The example of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and their refusal to bow down is evidence that we too can. I learned in my last class, preparing sermons, that was my class I took, right? That word choices are important when you extend challenges. Use words like can to offer God's people the understanding that we can do something, that it's not negative. I want you to know that you can stand for God. It is possible. Three single lives in a sea of who knows how many stood in defiance of the things, influence, and comfort of this world. Because if you back up and read, they had already purposed in their heart that we would not defile our God. Just in this room, I wonder if we were all put in a similar scenario, how many of us would stand and not bow down? How many of us would have the courage we can? We see the pressure to bow down, and secondly, this morning, I want to share with you the temptation to compromise. Nebuchadnezzar ordered the Jewish youth to be brought before him. Nebuchadnezzar reminded them of the situation before them, and Nebuchadnezzar gave them one last opportunity. So many of us are faithful until they give us that one last influence. I get so frustrated in my spiritual walk because I am as physical as you are, and there's things that I struggle with in my life just like you struggle with your life. I wake up every morning, I go to bed every night, and God give me the strength to overcome this thorn in the flesh, whatever it is, and I do so good, and then in one moment what a temptation. These young adolescents, and to be more specific, these young male adolescents. You know, they say science tells us, you know what that means, that girls mature faster than guys. That it takes us a little longer to make adult decisions. That's why on your insurance policies, younger girls are cheaper than younger boys, because we're just dumb. The book I'm reading right now would tell you that young boys have flat brains. We have we have the difficult ability of making rational choices because our brains are just not operating like they should because of the pressures of life. Flat brains. These young people, these young adolescents have been raised up in a society that was so strict and so staunch in the law, and these Jews have now been taken to a very different type of environment. Everything they've been told no their entire lives, they are now being told it's okay. The perspective that many of us have that our faith is so repressive that when we get out and we get away, I don't even want to share with you the numbers of our church youth that get out into higher education, get away from homes, and they fall away because the pressures seem to provide them what they've been missing. This is off the point, but maybe we need to stop. I say we as a general concept. We as the church need to stop. Maybe we need to change how we present the truth. Teach our children the joys of being identified with God, the blessings of being in God's house, the blessings of standing with Him. I mean, just think of the influence. Everybody else bowed down. Everybody else found that the life of Babylon was greater, more enticing. Everywhere you look, as far as God's people, we are only a fraction of what we used to be. So many of us have just found something else, a little more important, a little more interesting, a little more worth their time than being in God's house. But not these three. not you this morning. You chose regardless of the influences outside, regardless of what we could be doing. God was worth standing for. Let me commend you on that. Let me thank you for that. Let me tell you that God is pleased for that. Because it doesn't take courage to kneel. It doesn't take courage to keep quiet. It doesn't take courage to keep seated. It doesn't take courage to conform or compromise, to stay on the sideline. It doesn't take courage to stay in that comfort zone. It takes courage to sit on that front row. It takes courage to stand. It takes courage when King Nebuchadnezzar brings these young people before them and tells them, maybe you didn't understand. Can you imagine how scary it was for them? Nebuchadnezzar at this point in time is the most powerful man on the face of the earth. I imagine Mr. Nebuchadnezzar, he carried himself with such pompous display. I imagine these three young men felt very small before him. Some of us decide right now we're going to stand for God, but when we are taken out and we are brought into the powerful presence and influence of the world, we succumb just because we feel so small. This morning I want to bring this to a close. I want to bring this thought to encourage our young people that if they could do it, we can do it. Have the confidence, thirdly, not to bow down. Nebuchadnezzar, after giving these believers a second chance, ends with this question: who is it? What God do you have that can deliver you out of my hands? Here, Nebuchadnezzar puts himself not on a level playing field with God, but he puts God beneath him. Who can take you out of my hands? You are mine. I'm not trying to shock you with statistics. I give no statistics today, even though I wanted to. So many young people give in because they feel that there's no other avenue for them. They feel that it doesn't matter what they do. That this influence is all there is. And that they're not strong enough. They're not important enough. They're not gifted enough. They're not no way out. Moms and dads are not there that day. Parents, I want you to think of this personally. If for some reason our children were taken away from us and put in front of this circumstance, have we raised them enough in God's house? Have we give them such courageous spiritual encouragement that they would be willing to stand? This is tough stuff here, guys. The reason our youth, and I say youth as a whole, as a society, is so lost is not because our world is so bad today. The reason our youth is so lost is because they're only following the pattern that they've lived with. Who is that God? What is he to you? How much faith do you really have in him? Are you willing to follow him to the furnace? How many of our children, how many of us would be willing to take such a stand? I want to close with this. Our song director, Durs, come. That we have an invitation, a hymn of invitation. And I want to conclude not with my words, but with their words. We are not careful to answer you in this matter. We understand what we are saying. We understand the circumstances, what they are saying to us. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O King. They say to Nebuchadnezzar, who do we serve and what can he do? The God that we serve can deliver us. They are telling Nebuchadnezzar, they are standing in front of the most powerful man in the world that literally had their lives in his hands. And they ineffectively tell him, you are nothing before my God. That's bold. That's spiritual courage, that's spiritual confidence that they just didn't get that day. It's because they had determined in their heart already, because they had been shown and they have been influenced by moms and dads and a church and a church family who invested in them, who lived before them lives that they could find as mentors. Be your child's mentor. Church, instill in our children that they can look to us to find the courage to stand for God because they see it in our lives. Oh, King, we know the situation. But if not, our God can save us, King. He is greater than you. Our God has a history of delivering his people. Our God can deliver us out of the fire. It would be wonderful if that's where our conversations always ended. But we live in reality. We know that God doesn't always heal diseases. God doesn't always fix our situations. These young teenagers knew that for certain.
Though my God may not always fix the problem, they say, but if not, be it known, King, that we will not serve your gods. We will not worship this golden image that you have set up. Our God may not deliver us from the fire, but they knew he would walk with them through it. As we stand this morning and have a hymn of invitation, I hope that our young people